Hi, Wendy.
Hi, K.Sue.
Thanks so much for having this conversation with me. Could we start by you just saying if you're an alumni of the team and what you've done and
Sure.
yeah.
I am an alumni of the team. I think it's been about 10 years for me or so. Thanks to you for getting me on the bike in the first place. But yeah, I've been coaching and participating for the last 10 years.
And maybe why you ride.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest reason I ride is to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I met my husband at the time, a boyfriend, back in 2006, and he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I was, very nervous about that. But I adored him, and we got married a couple years later, and we just decided we were going to face this together and take it on. And luckily for Dave, he benefited very directly from the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's work in funding Rituxan. Rituxan put him into a long-term remission. So he's been in remission. It's 20 years since he was diagnosed, and I think his remission is over 10 years now. So he's been in remission for a good long time.
That's such great news. Yay. Well, good. Thank you for sharing that. Because what we're going to talk about is doing fundraising letters. And these are the real mail letters that Team in Training sends out for us.
Yeah.
Did you do that last year? Did you and Dave?
Yeah, Dave and I do it every year. We have a list that we keep that we send Christmas cards to, and every year, and just an update at year end, and we use it for our fundraising mailers too.
Awesome. So the good news for you is that because you did it last year, you should get an email from LLS with your last year's letter, the donor list, and you can just go in and update it.
Oh, wow. That is a huge improvement.
Yeah, so you'll get all of that from Tina, and they will even go in and add those donors that weren't on your list. So you'll have everything.
That's so great.
Yeah, so that's one of the things, because this is just the easiest fundraising campaign that I've seen yet with Team in Training. So there's 3 steps. One, use the letter template, and I'm going to open a file here and share it with you so you can see it. There it is. Okay, can you see it?
I can.
So if you did it last year, you'll get your actual letter, and you can go in and just make updates. If you didn't do it last year, you'll get this template, and you can go in and just, all you have to do is change the highlighted places. You don't have to write the whole letter. You can, if you want.
Right.
And what is important is you put in the team name. We're SF Bay team, or you don't have to. And then you can just go in and fill out all of that. One thing to note is in the second paragraph, it says, my personal goal is to raise X. I just want to be sure that you know that you commit to raise a certain amount to get your right entry, and you'll be held for that amount. But you can put on your fundraising page any amount of money you want, and you're not held to it. Right. But it's a way to incentivize people to give more.
Yeah, we always do that. Every year we put probably, I think we aim for like 25,000, and it always, I think people who want to give, that can give bigger amounts, do so when you have a bigger amount that you're trying to raise.
Great. How much did you raise through this letter last year? Do you know?
Oh my gosh, that I don't know. It's been up and down throughout the years, but I would say half of our fundraising comes from this. And last year, I think we raised around 15,000.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do with these letters, and you know this, but I'll say it here, is that you can put a photo in. And if you can't get it in, you can send it to Tina, and she'll put the photo in. You can also put in your QR code. And then a person could get this letter and just scan it with their phone and donate right to you.
That's
So it couldn't be easier.
I love the QR code. Yes,
Yeah.
that's great.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop the share. Any other thoughts since you've done the letter before that you want to say about it? I mean, I think people can take 10 minutes and
Yeah.
get a pretty decent letter, send it off to LLS.
Yeah, I would say definitely do the letter. You know, there's been years where we tried to rely only on email, and email goes to spam folders, junk folders, gets lost. I mean, I don't know about you, but I get like 100 emails a day. So I open things and then I close them and say I'll come back to it later and just never get back to it. But when something comes in the mail, I set it aside, and then I when I pay the bills or whatever it is I'm going to do, I make the donations then. So it's worth the effort.
Great. And then those envelopes come back to you.
And that's kind of fun. Yeah. I know. I get very excited when I go to the mailbox and I get an envelope.
Oh, me too. I love that part. So I'm going to open up another file now, and this is, you probably saw it last year. This is the mailing house template. And this is another way they've made it so easy. So you take your donor list and you dump it into this list. And the required part is you need your donors' first names, last names, their street address, the city, state, zip, all the important things. And then you can customize it. So you may be able to go in, and you might have done this last year. I don't know. I certainly did this and had different salutations depending on who it was. So for some folks, I said hi. For others, I used dear. For others, I just use their first name. And then there's an envelope name, and then there's a closing. And you can put sincerely, you can put love, you can change for every person.
That's so great.
So, and they make it so easy. Now, again, as an alum, you're going to get this list back. And then you can go in and see who they've added and decide if you want them there, if it was a one-time. You can also say, well, you know what? I know Maggie Evans better than I knew her last year. So
Right.
I want to change how I reached out to her. But it's so easy. So for those people who haven't done this list, this is where they would dump their Christmas list or whatever list they're using. And it makes it really easy. Anything else about the salutations that you noticed or that you want to add?
No, I think it's great to make it a little more personal whenever you can. And some people you know better than others. So I think that's a great add.
Exactly. Then the third step is you send the letter and the list to Tina. They're due by December. Wouldn't that be nice? No, they're due by February 15th.
Okay.
So they get to Tina by then. What LLS does then is they print each letter with or without the designated salutation. They put in every letter that they're mailing a self-addressed stamped envelope back to you.
Nice.
And then they mail it to everyone on your list. It couldn't be easier.
That's great.
So you do three things. You update the letter or write the letter. You check the list and add to it. And then you get it to Tina and you're done. One thing that we found last year, because they did research on our team, is that the people who sent 50 or more letters, so you want that list to be at least 50 people, raised on the average about $13,000 more than those that did not.
Wow.
So, and they studied our team in particular, which is great. And then you also get the thrill of open the envelopes, as we talked about. I mean, it's fun. So
yeah, it is fun. It is fun.
Due date goes to Tina by February 15th. It gets mailed out around March 6th.
Okay.
The other thing with the due date is, you know, in your case, you've been an alum, so you have pictures, but for the new folks, they can go to kickoff or to the first team ride and take pictures on their bike gear and then put that for their letter. So there's ways to personalize it that really work well.
Yeah, first ride is the week before.
It
So
is.
great.
It
Yeah.
is. So yeah, it can be really up to date. So I wanted to go through this with you, but I really appreciate you doing this because we're gonna pass this out then to the team.
That's great.
Will you talk for a couple minutes before we finish? You said you started with we use our Christmas list. So
Mhm,
does that mean you have this big list of people that you regularly send cards to
mhm.
and
And fundraising.
fundraising? So it doubles as both.
Mhm.
Um, who's on that list?
Oh my gosh, everyone we know.
Okay,
Um, everyone we get a card, if we get a card from someone that we haven't necessarily sent a card to before, they get added to the list. It's all of our family, our friends, coworkers,
great.
bosses, former coworkers, former teammates.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's everyone that we know.
good.
It's great. Yeah.
I know that this year I'm adding my two dentists because they're both new. But I figure, you know what? I do include professionals that I deal with
Yeah, that's a
um,
good one. That
a
is a good one.
lot, or places where I spend a lot of money
Yeah.
that it feels right.
That's
Yeah,
a
but
that's a great ad. That's a great ad.
I like making it count double. I don't usually do that. I usually have like 10 million lists. So this is great.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, any tips on writing the story?
I think it's just important to have to tell your story about why you're doing this, and even if you haven't directly been impacted by blood cancer, cancer has touched almost everyone. So just really think through like what is your why, and if your why is you just want to learn how to ride your bike around Lake Tahoe, that's an awesome story to tell too. That's a really great story. So
That's right. That's such a good point.
yeah,
Okay, so easy peasy.
easy peasy.
Sign up, write a few paragraphs, send the list, send it to Tina by February 15th, and we're good to go.
I'm gonna do mine right now.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop recording this. Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome. Thank you.